Not all video games are a complete waste of time. There are so many video games that I've played throughout my life that have added immense value to my life. They've changed the way that I see the world. They've given me an escape into a world that actually challenged me and gave me difficulties to overcome. I've had existential crises playing certain games. These are experiences that are completely lacking in the world today. In our world, men are not encouraged to be men. Men are downtrodden. Men are shut down. They're not allowed to be bold. They're not allowed to be fierce. They're not allowed to fight. Men are, generally speaking, just shut down in every possible way. We live in a world that is not catered towards masculine, strong men. We live in a world that is catered towards, generally speaking, the weak or women. So video games, in a lot of ways, give men a space, a male space, if you want to call it that, to be actual men. You can be a strong warrior and you can fight off all these big, strong enemies and these horrible bosses that are just terrible and scary. Or you can have a genuine competition with another man where you're not going to be told, oh, you're trying too hard or something. You can actually channel a lot of your energy and a lot of your effort into these video games. And it is a great outlet that so many men are lacking. Like I said, in the world today, if you work in the corporate job or something like that, you are not allowed to be competitive. You are told that you should stay in line, that you're not supposed to trump or talk over other people. You're supposed to be submissive. You're supposed to be able to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day without complaining. This is the world that we live in, and men need an outlet. And this is where video games come in. Video games give men freedom to be men. We can have competition. We can play games where you're a brave knight or something like that and you save the world. You can play games that actually give men the ability to live out what men were made to be. Now, this isn't true of every video game. There are a lot of video games that are an actual complete waste of time. There are good games and there are bad games. And a lot of people do play a lot of these like slop kind of games that are not productive for your brain or anything whatsoever. But then there are other games, like if you played Legend of Zelda as a kid, this is a game that really unlocks like the boy fantasy of going and saving the world or exploring a dark cave with a lantern. Like these are things that men and boys all crave in very real ways. And I don't see anything wrong with kids playing these games. I don't see anything wrong with adults playing these games because it unlocks something that is deep inside of every man that is completely lacking in the world today. Imagine being a kid again. Imagine going to school again and being forced to sit for hours and hours and hours and just consume mindless slop that they teach you in schools that doesn't benefit anyone, that you'll forget the minute you walk out of the classroom, and then going home and playing a game like Halo, right? Now all of a sudden you're a hero. Now all of a sudden you're fighting aliens, or you go and you play Legend of Zelda and you're saving the world and you're fighting against all these bad guys, right? It's cool. You play Dark Souls and you're saving the world. Maybe nobody really knows what's happening in Dark Souls, but it's really hard and fun, right? These are spaces that men need because men crave it. Men crave this hard, difficult challenge in their life. In a world that we live in today where there are no challenges anymore. We live in a dead world. There are no adventures. We live in a completely coddled society where there's no difficulty, no pain, no struggle. Everything is just fed to us. You can have everything that you ever wanted at the click of your finger. You can watch all the porn you want. You can have all the food you want delivered to your door. There is no reason to struggle anymore. And because men don't have struggle, they are forced to enter into these virtual worlds where they can actually have their adventure, they can actually have their difficulty. And I don't blame men for doing it. I know that a lot of guys spend way too much time playing video games and they spend too much time escaping into these virtual worlds and stuff. And I understand that because I was doing it. There was a time in my life where I was probably playing video games for 12, 16-hour days, right? I understand why guys are doing it. I was working in a corporate job and I was playing a video game on my phone or at home on my desktop for hours and hours a day. And I understand why guys are doing it. I understand because it teaches you lessons that you're just not learning in the real world. And it's giving you experiences that you could never have in the world today. The world today is just completely void of adventure. It's completely void of challenges. And another thing that the video games give men is this friendship that you don't really get in the real world, right? You may have coworkers that are friends, and sure, you're all struggling together and hating your life together, so that's fun. But when you have friends in video games, it's almost like you're experiencing this difficulty together. Like, let's say you're playing Elden Ring or you're playing Dark Souls, and you have a friend who also plays it, and you can commiserate or commemorate, whatever you want to say. You can commiserate with these people about difficult bosses like Ornstein Smog or the Bell Tower Gargoyles. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they're just really difficult. You can commemorate about these things together, and you can talk about it, and it's just like this bonding experience, and you'll never get that in the real world anymore. Most guys don't go out with their friends and go in on adventures in the woods or explore abandoned buildings anymore. They just don't do that. I wish they would. I think that's more valuable than video games, but at the same time, not everyone lives in an area where they can do that often. So I completely understand why guys go and they spend all this time playing video games. Video games are not always a complete waste of time. In fact, I think video games add a lot of value. I think that it's actually great that I grew up playing Legend of Zelda. I think it's great that I grew up playing Pikmin. I think it's great because these things taught me lessons. They taught me how to problem solve. They taught me how to fight bad guys and be brave. I remember the first time I loaded up Minecraft, right? I remember seeing someone playing it on YouTube and being like, wow, this game looks great. And I remember it got nighttime for the first time. And I remember how afraid I actually was at night, right? It sounds so stupid for most people who play Minecraft, being afraid of the nighttime. But when you're a little kid and you're playing for the first time, it's like, yeah, the zombies are scary. Yeah, the skeletons are scary, right? It's fun to learn those lessons through a video game because you're not going to get it anywhere else in the world, right? Where is a young kid going to learn these lessons, right? Are parents letting their kids go camping all by themselves anymore? Are parents even letting their kids leave the house anymore? No, they're not. The world's too dangerous or whatever. And it is in a lot of ways. But at the same time, boys and young men are just lacking these real adventurous experiences. And this is a great tragedy. And this is why we see so many guys throwing their entire lives into video games. Now that's where it gets to be a problem. Your life should not be completely encapsulated by video games. Your free time should not all be eaten up by video games. Is there a time to spend an hour or two, maybe even 3 hours playing video games on your day off or something like that? Absolutely. There is a time for that. It's great to have that escape every now and again to experience some fun things together, maybe even with your friends. That's even better if you're playing with your friends. It's good to have that, but at the same time, you need to use it almost as a crutch, just for a temporary crutch, a temporary Band-Aid, until you can actually create these great and awesome adventures in your real life. I know it's not always possible. I know it's not always possible to go out and travel or something like that. At the same time, you do need to make time for real life experiences, IRL XP. You need to make time for it, because if you don't, your whole life will be in the video game, and that's not real. Right? It's not real. If you're like me, I used to play old school RuneScape. I spent like literally over 100 days in the game. This is not real life. Was I achieving something in the game? Absolutely. Was I accomplishing things? Absolutely. But at the same time, it's not real life. Am I learning lessons? Maybe. Sure. But am I actually achieving anything? And the answer is really no. I'm not. Everyone knows that the answer is no. I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm not saying it's not cool. I think it's really cool that, Link's Titan hit 200 mil all. I think that's cool, but at the same time, he wasted his time. If we're just being honest, he wasted his time because all of it was focused on himself. You see, men grow up into these virtuous, strong, brave men, not for themselves. It's not supposed to be for yourself. It's supposed to be so that you can benefit others around you. You don't just slay the dragon or fight the bear in the cave or whatever just for yourself and your own glory. Sure, that's part of it. You're doing it for glory, but at the same time, you're doing it to protect others, right? These things that you're learning in the video game are supposed to translate into real life in some way so that when you do eventually face off against that dragon, or fight against that bear, allegorically, guys, listen, then when you face it in real life, you will beat it and you will actually help other people. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say. The lessons you learn through video games can absolutely benefit your real life, but it's when those video games replace reality itself for you that it becomes an issue. Video games, like I said, are supposed to be a crutch. They're supposed to be a band-aid. They're not completely a waste of time. They're not completely worthless, but it's when that band-aid becomes your whole life, that's when the issue starts to happen. When you're spending too much time playing video games, that's when the issues arise. They're great for bonding with friends. They're great for escaping this mundane, terrible, gray world that we live in every now and again. But you can't live in the video game. Those things need to translate to real life and make a difference in the world so that we can actually have reality back. If you want to save the world, you need to take what you learned in those video games and you need that to translate into the real world. Take those problem-solving skills you learned. Take all of the things that you learned and move it into the real world. It is strange to me how many people see video games as a complete waste of time. Meanwhile, they play sports, they watch sports, and all those things. They have like this weird disconnect of thinking that video games are a complete waste of time, but sports, on the other hand, that's not a waste of time. Those are valuable. But if we're all being honest, the same things that you get from sports translate over to video games. We have esports, right? And it's the same thing even with games like chess, right? I can be like, look, I can spend my whole life playing chess, but it's a waste of time, realistically. But most people would be like, oh, no, you actually learned thinking skills and critical thinking and seeing into the future and things like that and planning and all that from chess. Well, yeah, I learn all of that from video games too. I mean, let's be honest. We learn all of those things from video games as well. Now, not all video games do that. Like if you're just playing Candy Crush on your phone all day, sure, yeah, that's a complete waste of time. Everyone knows that. But if you're playing chess, that's like a video game, right? In the way that you're solving problems, you're playing against an enemy, you're having a competition, you're using your mind, you're working hard at it. That's a good thing. That's actually productive. But the same thing could be said that if you played chess all day long, that probably isn't a healthy lifestyle. You probably will lose your mind, as many top chess players do, right? You need to balance. Everything needs to be balanced. Everyone knows this. You can't play video games all day because that's not good. But if you play video games for a few hours every now and again, or just a few hours a week, that's not that bad, right? That's not a complete waste of time. You need those down times. You need that time to rest and recover. My wife always jokes with me that sometimes when I'm trying to relax, I go and I play like Dark Souls or something like that. Dark Souls, if you don't know, is one of the most difficult video games. It's horrible and it's horrendous and it's hard and it's stressful. And yeah, you get angry while you play, right? But men need that outlet. Men need that difficult outlet where they can go out and fight. They can go out and they can struggle. They can go out and get frustrated. We need it. And if we don't have it, we're going to be miserable. So, are video games a complete waste of time? No. But they can become a little too much. You can get a little too out of hand with it. And then, sure, yeah, now you're wasting your time. So, take my advice. You can play video games, but don't play too much. And also, don't let those video games remain a crutch that takes away from real life experiences. You need to be able to get out and have real adventures too. And you will remember those real adventures a lot better than the fake ones that you have on a video game. If you go and you explore an abandoned building or an old cave or something like that, I guarantee you will remember that experience a lot better than anything that you're going to experience in a video game. Trust me.